Did you know in the books, Rhaenyra and Daemon did not sleep together? Gildain writes, "Of the course of the quarrel, Grand Maester Rukata does not speak. Others assert that it was at Queen Alicent's urging that Viserys sent Daemon away, but Septon Eustace and Mushroom tell another tale. Or rather, two such tales, each different from the other. Eustace, the less salacious of the two, writes that Prince Daemon seduced his niece the princess and claimed her maidenhood. When the lovers were discovered abed together by Sir Eric Cargyle of the Kingsguard and brought before the king, Rhaenyra insisted she was in love with her uncle and pleaded with her father for leave to marry him. King Viserys would not hear of it, however, and reminded his daughter that Prince Daemon already had a wife. In his wrath, he confined his daughter to her chambers, told his brother to depart, and commanded both of them never to speak of what had happened. So Alicent did exactly what Cersei did in A Feast for Crows. She wanted Rhaenyra removed as heir, and since Rhaenyra was spending all her time with Daemon, she concocted a plan similar to Cersei, have Eric Cargyle, or in Cersei's case, Osney Kettleblack, confess to Septon Eustace, or the High Sparrow, about the young queen's infidelity. Now, the High Sparrow didn't believe this for a moment, and immediately tortured Osney until he got the truth, exposing Cersei. Meanwhile, Eustace fell for it, not realizing this is what Alicent wanted. If this is true, Viserys confronted his daughter and brother, who denied the allegations. However, both Eustace and Mushroom's testimonies claim that Daemon asked his brother to marry Rhaenyra, which Viserys refused. Rhaenyra probably wanted to marry Daemon so she would be allowed to sleep with Criston Cole. So Alicent was the one who urged Viserys to get rid of Daemon, and so Viserys does. But he forgives his brother 5 years later, so Daemon clearly didn't take Rhaenyra's virginity, and Viserys believed his daughter and brother had only talked of marriage. But that's it. Had Alicent not insisted, Daemon probably would have been allowed to stay in King's Landing. Now, there is a cool theory that the reason why Otto hates Daemon is because Daemon was the one who slept with Alicent before she married Viserys. So it wasn't Viserys who took her virginity, but Daemon. And this is why Alicent and Daemon's relationship is so frosty. This is also why Eric Cargyle joins the Greens later. No way Rhaenyra and Daemon would ever forgive him for lying to Viserys on behalf of Alicent. Gildain writes, "The tale as told by Mushroom is far more depraved, as is oft the case with his testimony. According to the dwarf, it was Sir Criston Cole that the princess yearned for, not Prince Daemon. But Sir Criston was a true knight, noble and chaste, and mindful of his vows, and though he was in her company day and night, he had never so much as kissed her, nor made any declaration of his love. When he looks at you, he sees the little girl you were, not the woman you've become. Daemon told his niece, but I can teach you how to make him see you as a woman. He began by giving her kissing lessons, if Mushroom can be believed. From there, the prince went on to show his niece how best to touch a man to bring him pleasure, an exercise that sometimes involved Mushroom himself and his alleged enormous member. Daemon taught the girl to disrobe enticingly, suckled at her teats to make them larger and more sensitive, and flew with her on dragon back to lonely rocks in Blackwater Bay, where they could disport naked all day unobserved, and the princess could practice the art of pleasuring a man with her mouth. At night, he would smuggle her from her rooms dressed as a page boy and take her secretly to brothels on the Street of Silk, where the princess could observe men and women in the act of love and learn more of these womanly arts from the harlots of King's Landing. Just how long these lessons continued, Mushroom does not say, But unlike Septon Eustace, he insists that Princess Rhaenyra remained a maiden, for she wished to preserve her innocence as a gift for her beloved. So there is no way in a million years Mushroom was privy to all of this and Rhaenyra would practice giving him oral. Zero chance. What could be a bigger mood killer than bringing an ugly dwarf like Mushroom on these sexual adventures? The fact that Gildane includes these stories shows just how biased he is. Although Mushroom claiming that Rhaenyra wanted to lose her maidenhood to Criston Cole does sound true, again, there are nuggets of truth in these obviously fictitious lies. Gildane writes, "But when at last Rhaenyra approached her White Knight, using all she had learned, Sir Criston was horrified and spurned her. The whole tale soon came out, in no part thanks to Mushroom himself. King Viserys at first refused to believe a word of it, until Prince Daemon confirmed the tale was true. 'Give the girl to me to wife,' he purportedly told his brother. Who else would take her now? Instead, King Viserys sent him into exile, never to return to the Seven Kingdoms on pain of death. This is such a lie. Viserys forgives Daemon in like 5 years, so no way Viserys believed these rumors or Daemon's confirmation of them as true. Viserys exiled Daemon for convincing Rhaenyra to want to marry her uncle while he still had a wife." Gildane writes, "Lord Strong, the king's head, argued that the prince should be put to death immediately as a traitor, but Septon Eustace reminded his grace that no man is as cursed as the kinslayer. Lionel Strong was a Hightower agent, so obviously he would push for Daemon's death. But the fact that Viserys refused his hand of the king's suggestion shows that he didn't believe the allegations against his brother and knew Daemon was trying to use his daughter's attraction for Criston Cole to marry him, so they could have a polygamous marriage. Therefore, Viserys ordered Daemon to go back to his wife at Alicent's urging, so Daemon would stop seducing his daughter. Also, Criston Cole refusing to sleep with Rhaenyra and reporting it straight to the king probably made Viserys trust him implicitly from then on and promote him to Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, since any other knight or man in his stead would have slept with Rhaenyra. So, of Eustace and Mushroom, which story is true? Was Daemon exiled after Eric Cargyle found Rhaenyra and Daemon supposedly in bed together, or after Rhaenyra tried to seduce Criston? It's so hard to decide because they are both so untrustworthy. Mushroom quoting Daemon as saying, "Give her to me, who else would take her?" sounds like fabrications created to make Mushroom feel more important to the story. I think the main takeaway from both stories is that the allegations were made against Rhaenyra clearly designed to remove her from the succession. Viserys could see this. However, he could also see that Rhaenyra wanted to be a black dragon and marry Daemon. So the best solution is just send Daemon away, reward Criston for being faithful, and find Rhaenyra a husband. Gildane writes, "Of the aftermath, these things are certain. Daemon Targaryen returned to the Stepstones and resumed his struggle for those barren, storm-swept rocks. Grand Maester Rhaegar and Sir Harold Westerling both died in 112 AC. Sir Criston Cole was named the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard in Sir Harold's place, and the Archmaesters of the Citadel sent Maester Mellos to the Red Keep to take up the Grand Maester's chain and duties. Elsewise, King's Landing returned to its customary tranquility for the best part of 2 years, until 113 AC, when Princess Rhaenyra turned 16, took possession of Dragonstone as her own seat, and married. Long before any man had reason to doubt her innocence, the question of selecting a suitable consort for Rhaenyra had been of concern to King Viserys and his council. Great lords and dashing knights fluttered around her like moths around a flame, vying for her favor. When Rhaenyra visited the Trident in 112, the sons of Lord Bracken and Lord Blackwood fought a duel over her, and a younger son of House Frey made so bold as to ask openly for her hand. Fool Frey he was called thereafter. So the timeline gets really confusing here, but let's simplify it. Daemon leaves King's Landing in 111 or 112 AC. Criston Cole is named Lord Commander in 112 AC, which means he doesn't accompany Rhaenyra as she tours the Riverlands like we saw in the show. Cole was probably removed as Rhaenyra's sworn shield, and she was given someone else while Cole took command of his fellow Kingsguard knights, who were all probably older than he was, since Criston was only 30 years old, which is incredibly young. But I guess Viserys trusted him, and despite refusing Rhaenyra's advances, Viserys knew Criston wasn't an Alicent crony and could be trusted to ensure the throne would pass to Rhaenyra after his death. I mean, from Viserys' perspective, who better to ensure Rhaenyra's claim than the man who was her sworn shield for years and wore her favour in tourneys? Also, the fool Frey we see in this chapter will go on to become a hardcore Rhaenyra supporter. Meanwhile, the Lord of Blackwood mentioned in this passage is Samwell Blackwood, who would help Daemon secure the Riverlands for Rhaenyra. Gyldayn writes, in the west, Sir Jason Lannister and his twin, Sir Tylan, vied for her during a feast at Castle Rock. The sons of Lord Tully of Riverrun, Lord Tyrell of Highgarden, Lord Oakhart of Old Oak, and Lord Tarly of Horn Hill paid court to the princess, as did the Hand's eldest son, Sir Harwin Strong. Breakbones, as he was called, was heir to Harrenhal, and said to be the strongest man in the Seven Kingdoms. Viserys even talked of wedding Rhaenyra to the Prince of Dawn as a way of bringing the Dornish into the realm. Queen Alicent had her own candidate, her eldest son, Prince Aegon, Rhaenyra's half-brother. But Aegon was a boy, the princess 10 years his elder. Moreover, the two half-siblings had never gotten on well. All the more reason to bind them together in marriage, the queen argued. Viserys did not agree. The boy is Alicent's own blood, he told Lord Strong. She wants him on the throne. This is very interesting that Viserys knows his wife is scheming to put their son on the Iron Throne. But I wonder if the incident with Daemon tipped Viserys off, or earlier with her green dress, which is sad to think that Viserys tells his wife one thing and another to Lionel Strong, meaning that he knows his wife probably doesn't love him and only married him to make her son king. We also meet Tyland and Jason Lannister in this passage, who will become important Green supporters during the Dance of the Dragons. Meanwhile, the old Lord of Riverrun, Grover Tully, is a staunch supporter of the Greens and Aegon II. However, he was elderly, bedridden, and dying. Therefore, his grandson and heir, Elmo Tully, knew that the fiercely pro-Black Riverlords, like the Blackwoods, would tear the Riverlands apart if Riverrun declared for the Greens. Elmo kept Riverrun neutral until Lord Grover finally passed away, after which Elmo and his young sons, Kermit and Oscar, immediately marched to war for Rhaenyra. Highgarden will be neutral, Lord Oakhart of Old Oak will declare for Rhaenyra, Lord Tarly of Horn Hill will be a fierce supporter for Rhaenyra, despite being surrounded by powerful Greens, and join forces with Lord Costane and Beesbury. Rhaenyra's tour of the realm was incredibly successful and something that Rhaenys should have done to gain more support in the Riverlands and Reach. Anyway, subscribe for more.